Chapter 1813. Your technology is very useful. Zhang Yi didn't even plan to let the Fuying troops and the Tianjin team take action, because in the battle plan, it was necessary to use long-range artillery fire to wash the ground first. It's not that Zhang Yi didn't have confidence in their strength, but the problem could be solved as little as possible without injury, so there was no need to risk casualties. Demon God Ding rushed into the sky. There was no emotion in his eyes. He just simply raised the spear in his hand, and red energy crystals lit up on the spear. Then he swung the spear suddenly, and a terrifying energy storm suddenly burst out as if to split the sky, forming a terrifying sonic boom. This attack was not aimed at Zhang Yi, but enveloped the entire space around him. Zhang Yi saw through his purpose, which was to destroy those hundreds of thousands of guns and cannons. How could Zhang Yi do as he wished? The world around him suddenly expanded. The distance between the dimensional gate and the main body that he could control now was 4 kilometers. This allowed him to form an absolute defense spherical field with a diameter of 8 kilometers in the sky. Within this field, his defense is almost unsolvable. Physical attacks will lose their effect unless they exceed his ability index by too much. If you cannot break Zhang Yi's dimensional gate in the first place, then he who absorbs your attack will bounce your attack back intact the next moment. Demon Ding's reaction speed is very fast, and it is difficult to accurately bounce back the attack with such a large-scale attack. But Zhang Yi only needs to block his attack, which makes it impossible for him to achieve his goal of destroying the King of War.
But
although this move was blocked, Zhang Yi immediately realized that doing so would put himself in a passive position. He would intentionally block the opponent's attack on the King of War, which would inevitably distract him, which is very dangerous when the strong are fighting. So Zhang Yi made a decision immediately, and he took back all the guns and artillery. However, those napalm bombs and high-yield artillery shells were like throwing garbage from high altitude, pouring directly to the ground. Even in the extreme cold of more than 100 degrees below zero, napalm bombs still played a huge role. Although they could not burn those advanced mechanical life forms, the extremely high temperature would also have an impact on their bodies. Well, if the other party is a carbon-based creature, without good defense means it will probably die of dehydration or a lack of oxygen. In short, no shell is wasted no matter how big or small the effect is, it will always have some effect. Anyway, it is not the ammunition produced by our family, so we don't feel bad about using it. As a major military power, Fremons has no problem with productivity. We can ask for it from Bodaka later. Wife, be polite. Just when Zhang Yi had this idea, several objects that were growing rapidly suddenly appeared in his perspective. Several mechanical life forms similar to discs flew up from the ground, and Zhang Yi's intelligence system quickly scanned them. And they have flown to a position less than 10 kilometers away from Zhang Yi. They are 5 super-large mechanical life forms. But unlike the ones encountered before, these are completely round aerial vehicles. No, rather than aerial vehicles, they are aerial fortresses. I didn't see anything like wings on them, but they clearly have a larger body than an aircraft carrier. They look extremely heavy, but they can float in the air. Is this a combat-type mechanical life form? Zhang Yi muttered to himself. This is a more formidable fellow than the engineering type he encountered before. At least they are far superior to the engineering vehicles before in terms of firepower and defense. It does look very intimidating, but for me, the suppression in terms of numbers doesn't make much sense. As long as their attacks can't pass through Zhang Yi's dimensional gate, they can't hurt his body. Just when Zhang Yi had this thought, 5 super-large mechanical life forms began to erupt with strong energy reactions. The ones aimed at Zhang Yi should be the muzzles, and the energy is condensing. Zhang Yi didn't dare to be arrogant. Mechanical life forms are not humans. They can burst out extremely amazing energy without sparing power consumption. Even these super-large mechanical life forms may burst out attacks that can kill bishop-level aliens if they don't care about everything. But it was not them who made the first move, but the demon god Ding who was right in front of Zhang Yi. He held a slender spear in his hand and raised his mechanical arm to point at Zhang Yi. He just clenched his hand, and an invisible force suddenly burst out from the tip of the spear in his hand, and instantly reached Zhang Yi's Sinluo Wanxiang Wan layer across a long distance. In just a moment, the dimensional gates with more than 200 layers outside Zhang Yi's body were forcibly broken into a conical passage. In front of him, there was no more dimensional gate to defend himself. Zhang Yi saw this scene with the second hand of time, and he reacted the next moment. Without waiting for Demon God Ding to make a move, he took a step back and took the initiative to disappear in the dimensional gate. Demon God Ding frowned. He knew the opponent's means, because although Demon God Gui died, all his data before his death was uploaded to the center, and Demon God Ding could retrieve these combat data. So he knew that there was a person like Zhang Yi, who also had the means to crack the dimensional gate. Aliens are the most primitive energy of biological evolution. Mechanical civilization has developed for countless years, and the use of various energies has reached the level of returning to the original state. Of course, there are ways to deal with this primitive means in a targeted manner. However, before he made a move, Zhang Yi retreated first, which made his central calculation more complicated. Predicting my attack in advance, there is a 35% probability that it has the ability to predict the future and a 47% probability that it will choose to escape. But before his calculation was finished, he suddenly found that the space around him had undergone strange changes. Normal people's naked eyes cannot see it, but as a mechanical life form, he can perceive it. Around him, huge doors leading to different dimensions are suspended in the air like mirrors. This is a new tactic created specifically to deal with you. Oh, and those who come up with a way to crack the dimensional door based on my ability. I call it Mirror Maze. Zhang Yi's body emerged from a dimensional door. And of the 3,000 dimensional doors, he only left 2 to protect his body, and the rest were all arranged in this space. My ability is not only very strong in defense, but also very useful for escaping. However, when most people fight me, they only think about how to break my defense, but forget that I don't stand still and get beaten. Zhang Yi sighed in his heart. However, it is probably difficult for those who fought with him before to just break his defense. After the battle with the demon god Gui, Zhang Yi knew that this powerful mechanical life form must have mastered the technology to crack the space power. So before facing the upper demon god, Zhang Yi had already made such preparations. He never puts all his eggs in one basket. When the absolute defense fails, how to deal with it has always been a problem he would seriously think about. For example, now. Demon God Ding has the ability to attack him across the dimensional gate, but with thousands of dimensional gates in the air, Zhang Yi can appear from the entire huge space at any time, or hide. This makes it impossible for the opponent's attack to lock his position. Not to mention, he still has the 3 seconds of time that is close to invincibility of the time second hand. When you can't hit the opponent, it's meaningless no matter how strong the attack ability is. Before the attack of the demon god Ding was launched, Zhang Yi had predicted the attack and evaded it. There was no expression on his face, but that was also true. After all, they were all machines, and maybe his body did not have the expression function. Zhang Yi stood in front of the demon god Ding, looking down at him from a high position. Then Zhang Yi raised the divine refining in his hand, and the weapon turned into a long and narrow sword. When the sword appeared, a strange light finally appeared in the eyes of the demon god Ding. The sword was still Zhang Yi's sword, but the material had been upgraded. The weapon material of the demon god Gui was integrated into Zhang Yi's divine refining by Liu Karen after he was promoted to Ypsilon. There were even 12 red energy crystals embedded on it. Your technology is very advanced and I like it too. As soon as Zhang Yi finished speaking, he aimed the long sword in his hand at the demon god Ding and chopped it down. It was not a superpower, but a weapon of scientific and technological civilization. The powerful red wave rushed towards the demon god Ding like a tsunami. In the eyes of the demon god Ding, electronic signals were flashing wildly, but the movements of his hands were not slow at all. Mechanical life forms do not need to think as time-consuming and laboriously as humans do. 0.01 seconds is enough for them to make all the reactions. He raised the spear in his hand and directly stretched out the defensive force field in front of him. But the next moment, A crack appeared in the defensive force field in front of him. The powerful force penetrated in and hit his body hard.
Boom.
The red wave became more and more turbulent as it spread, and the speed of the storm became faster and faster, sweeping over hundreds of kilometers in radius. Fortunately, the central area had already been a ruin, so there was no need to worry about being destroyed more severely at this time. Zhang Yi looked at the demon god Ding, who was hit below, and whispered lightly, "My knife is not a simple knife. I didn't expect that when releasing energy attacks, it would also fire bullets that can affect the stability of the defensive force field." As Lu Karen was promoted to Ypsilon, she had thoroughly studied the body of the demon god Gui. Its technology is no longer a secret to Zhang Yi, including the defensive force field used by the demon god Gui. It is easy to deal with after knowing the principle. Just like superpowers, no matter how powerful the ability looks, you only need to find a flaw to easily break it. But the next moment, from the dust of the earth, a red energy broke through the air like a sharp sword and reached Zhang Yi's eyes in an instant. Its speed was too fast. But no matter how fast it was not faster than the judgment in advance. Zhang Yi just took a step back, and he disappeared from the spot and appeared from another area. The figure of demon god Ding appeared in the air again. His body looked undamaged. The upper demon god is indeed more powerful. Demon god Ding was indeed shocked by Zhang Yi's attack. He murmured, "It is Gui's weapon." But he probably doesn't know that Gui is an old model of the body. His attack can't hurt me. Although he said so, his defense field was penetrated, which still made demon god Ding feel a little pressure. He put away his contempt for Zhang Yi in his heart. After a few short exchanges, Zhang Yi's strength has been recognized by him. But there will be no accidents. "I will still kill you." Demon god Ding's tone was light, as if he was telling an inevitable event. Zhang Yi would not stop his attack. The knife in his hand turned into two big guns, aiming at demon god Ding. One gun directly condensed powerful energy and then shot out. However, this time, demon god Ding did not choose to use the defense force field again. Since he knew it was ineffective, there was no need to use it again. He just waved his hand vigorously, and the powerful force approaching his body, as well as the shield-breaking spear mixed in it, disappeared from the spot in an instant. That's right, it was not defended, nor was it dispersed, but disappeared directly. This scene was unexpected by Zhang Yi, because he had never seen this ability from demon god Gui. Sure enough, it's right to be careful. Although they are all called demons by humans, they are not exactly the same body, and it is not just a simple upgrade of strength. Demon god Ding looked at Zhang Yi, and his figure suddenly rushed towards him like lightning. And wherever he passed, the dimensional doors laid by Zhang Yi disappeared directly. It was the same feeling. Zhang Yi could sense every door he laid, so Zhang Yi felt their disappearance most directly. It was not broken, but disappeared directly. Zhang Yi tried to summon again, and he could also use the dimensional gate. In other words, demon god Ding cancelled Zhang Yi's ability? No, not just the ability. Including energy body attacks and bullets? What on earth is this? Zhang Yi brainstormed frantically. At the moment, he had no way of knowing what kind of ability the other party had, so he couldn't attack in a targeted manner. And demon god Ding was already holding a spear and was only 3 kilometers away from Zhang Yi. Head-on confrontation? Zhang Yi was not interested. He walked back directly into the dimensional gate, and then at the moment of leaving, he opened his right hand towards demon god Ding, and then squeezed it hard. God's domain purification. The sound of metal being compressed came to his ears, like using a pressure hammer to squeeze a piece of steel. Zhang Yi clearly saw that demon god Ding's body had changed. There was no sign of the attack of God's domain purification, and there was no trajectory to follow. As long as you are within the attack range, you will be hit in an instant, so you can't dodge. Zhang Yi knew that this attack could not kill the immortal demon god Ding, so after the attack, he used the mirror maze to travel through space and directly distanced himself from the demon god Ding. From the corner of his eye, he could still see the 5 super-large mechanical life forms suspended in the air. But they did not show any signs of attacking Zhang Yi. This did not make Zhang Yi feel relaxed, but he frowned. This showed that the opponent was very smart and knew that ordinary attacks could not break his dimensional door, but would be used by him. Therefore, these super-large mechanical life forms were temporarily on standby to wait for a suitable opportunity to give Zhang Yi a fatal blow. Zhang Yi looked down subconsciously. The entire land was already in a mess, and a large number of mechanical life forms were directly destroyed in the previous round of Iron Rain. The mechanical life forms that had not been destroyed were looking up at the sky in a terrifying silence. Tens of thousands of mechanical life forms. Zhang Yi felt a little cold on his back, and they were too quiet to be scary. Although the combat power of these guys is not to be feared, if tens of thousands of them attack together, the energy level that will be formed will be difficult for even his dimensional gate to withstand. Zhang Yi will not give them a chance to attack. Zhang Yi guessed part of Demon God Ding's idea. Demon God Ding's combat power is strong enough, and he may catch Zhang Yi's flaw at a certain moment. As long as there is a gap of 0.01 seconds, these tens of thousands of mechanical life forms, including the 5 super-large mechanical life forms in the air, will simultaneously increase the energy output rate to the maximum.
He may really die.
I won't give you this opportunity. In a group battle, the role of helpers is fully reflected. This is not the time to play personal heroism. Zhang Yi opened the shadow space. You are responsible for holding back most of the mechanical army, and I will take care of Demon God Ding. Lu Kuoran appeared first, driving a giant snow owl. The mecha, which was no less than a super-large mechanical life form, had been transformed by Lu Kuoran for the second time and integrated the technology of mechanical civilization to become more powerful. It spread its huge wings and flew in the air, like a terrifying white eagle, or like a huge cloud mountain. The 5 super-large mechanical life forms were immediately released from standby mode. Boom! Heavy metal doors were opened around the body. Dense bird-like mechanical life forms flew out with metal wings fluttering, and the sky was filled with dark clouds transformed by mechanical life forms. Seeing this, Lu Karen curled up a sneer at the corner of her mouth. She quickly operated the snowy owl and only heard a sound of mechanical operation. A large number of launch holes appeared on the shoulders, waist, and even legs of the snowy owl. The vision without blind spots allowed Lu Karen to sit in the cab and see everything transparent. The body quickly locked the positions of all enemy mechanical life forms in the air, and then suddenly shot out sharp red beams from hundreds of launch holes. The scene was like a light and shadow show, but the red rays shot out were like a scalpel, accurately cutting through the body of each mechanical life form. Just like an electric fly swatter swatting a mosquito, a series of explosions sounded in the air. Although this flying fighter type is very powerful, it can't withstand the powerful attack of the snowy owl. Fortunately, these are just mechanical life forms. If there are any, someone is controlling them, and they must be furious at this moment. Because a large part of the energy technology used by Lu Kuoran is a fusion of the technology of the demon god Goe and other mechanical life forms. Roar! Following closely behind was Hua Hua, who spread his 2 wings. His body was even bigger than before. Now, after the battle in Tianhai City, his supernatural power index has reached 18,000 points, close to the strength of the Black Chariot. The members of the Fuying Force and the Tianshan squad all stood on his back. Before coming, the battle plan had been made, and everyone had a clear division of labor. Although the opponent had some more super-large mechanical life forms that could fly, it still did not affect their battle. Hua Hua first transported the ground troops to arrive, and then flapped his wings and took off. When his wings were spread, he caused a fierce storm. As a strange beast with the ability to fly, it will be responsible for cooperating with Lu Kuoran's snow owl to deal with the mechanical life forms in the air. Liang Yu, Deng Shintong, and members of the Fuying Force and the Tianshan squad cleaned up the ground mechanical army. Uncle Yu and Fatty Su are also here. Their strength is not as good as Ypsilon, and it is difficult for them to fight against super-large mechanical life forms independently. So their combat mission is the same as that of the Fuying Force and the Tianshan squad, which is to clean up the mass-produced machines. On the huge battlefield, the war started in an instant. The appearance of helpers made Zhang Yi's pressure much less. Now he can finally concentrate on dealing with Demon God Ding. But he hasn't figured out what the special ability shown by Demon God Ding is. Is it a more powerful technological force or a superpower? The sudden appearance of a large number of aliens, including the humanoid body in the air, made Demon God Ding stunned for a moment. But it is very reasonable to think about it carefully. The only difference is that the enemy appeared too suddenly. In the past, the human forces had been discovered by their reconnaissance troops before the attack. But now, they were brought here by a space alien, which is equivalent to being airdropped here. This made the mechanical army fall into a disadvantage for the first time in combat because they could not obtain combat information in advance. Demon God Ding also quickly changed his combat strategy. He raised the spear in his hand, and a red energy crystal embedded on the spear suddenly burst into dazzling light. Zhang Yi's eyes condensed. He was very familiar with this move. Demon God Goe once used this move, bursting out with power that forced Zhang Yi to retreat. It was like an overload of the body, instantaneous, unable to last long, but extremely powerful. If Demon God Ding uses this move, the power will definitely be greater than that of Demon God Goe. Because you can't accurately lock my position, do you plan to directly cover the area where all the dimensional gates are located? This move is obviously useless to Zhang Yi, because Zhang Yi can escape from this explosive energy attack by escaping into the void. The dimensional gate behind Zhang Yi is ready. He can enter it at any time and then close all the doors. But at the same time, his constant vigilance made him not rush to make a decision. He knows what my ability is, which can be seen from his previous attack method. Before Demon God Goe died, it is impossible for him not to pass on information about me. This is not difficult for a high-tech civilization. What's more, he is a machine. And the reason why Demon God Ding still intends to use this trick is to force me to escape into the void. Zhang Yi brainstormed frantically. He thought of two possibilities. First, the opponent forced him to escape into the void and then killed his companions. Second, the opponent has a way to crack his ability to escape into the void. No matter which one, Zhang Yi is not willing to gamble.